Hey there, Hofstra fans. Welcome to this week's edition of the W. Mason's Coaches Report right here on GoHofstra.com. Joined, as always, by head coach of the Hofstra wrestling team, Rob Anspach. Coach, how are you today?
Doing all right.
Coming off a weekend at the Northeast Duels, 4 matches, 3 of the teams ranked, and Bloomsburg was receiving those in the top 25. You go 0-4 there. Just describe what happened this past weekend.
Well, we didn't wrestle very well, to just put it bluntly. We had a couple guys that we typically count on for some wins, and they just didn't perform up to the best of their ability. And when you do that and you're wrestling good teams, you don't win very many matches. So I'm not exactly sure what happened. Just overall, I thought we were a little flat. We didn't come out aggressive, and they did, and we went 0-4. So now it's on the staff to kind of correct it, get things moving in the right direction, and see if we can change those results this weekend.
First off, let's look at Paul Snyder. Coming off the state championships, he had a successful weekend there. He wins 3 of 4 matches at the Northeast Duels. One of them was by forfeit, but continuing that success a little bit here. What did you see from his play?
Paul, I thought, was one of the few guys that actually went out there and wrestled well. Even the match he lost, we had a takedown right at the end. We just kind of ran out of time against a guy that's ranked in the country. So Paul's continued to wrestle well. The one thing I was looking for Paul for the last 3 or 4 years has been to be more consistent, and he seems to be going down that path right now. He's coming in, he's doing the extra things that I think he needs to do to be not a force on the national scene. Forget about just the CAAs. I feel he's the top guy in the conference, but he's looking to do something more nationally right now.
Mm-hmm. And you look at a couple other players, Steve Bonanno and Luke Byte. Those are 2 players they look every time to go out and win their matches. They go 2-2, each of them, but are those your key players you're looking for at the top of your lineup to start things off? They didn't win all 4 matches, but still they went 2-2. Are those 2 players that you look for to be successful right off the bat?
Yeah, I mean, we when you look at our team, we're definitely, our lower weights are favored, or they're supposed to be the strength of our lineup. Mm-hmm. And so for Steve to go out there and go 2-2 against guys that he's definitely capable of beating was a little bit of a surprise, a little bit of a shock. Mm-hmm. Last year Steve was one of our more consistent wrestlers week in and week out, and right now he seems to be a little bit more up and down. So we just got to get Steve going in the right direction. He's definitely capable of repeating last year. It wasn't that it was a fluke last year that he was an All-American. He's that good. And I'm not so worried about him right now. He just seems to be a step off, and that'll just come with continuing to work hard and everything like that. Luke, this weekend, he was actually 3-1 this weekend. His only loss to the #1 kid in the country, Kendrick Maple from Oklahoma, which was a really competitive match, a real good match. There's a couple things we need to work on. We got ridden in the second period, which kind of slowed us down a little bit. We want to make it a more up-tempo match with him. We want to be out on our feet and wrestling hard, and he was able to rise for 2 minutes, and that kind of slowed it shortened the match out, which we don't want to do. We want actually the match to feel a little bit longer on him, because we feel with the way Luke works, he's a hard guy to wrestle for 7 minutes, and so for him not getting off the bottom was a big problem in that match, and it's something we'll correct. And at the end of the day, those are going to be the things that Luke's going to need to be an All-American this year.
Looking at 133 now, Jamie Franco, he struggled a little bit this weekend. 1 major decision, but the other 3 matches hung in there a little bit, though. How do you think he can improve at 133?
Yeah, Jamie needs to get out there and just be more aggressive. Right now he seems to be very tentative in his wrestling. I'm not 100% sure why. And I saw a little bit of it last week at the New York States, where he was wrestling, and I felt, he lost in the semifinals there, and he lost that kid he should have beat. And he was tentative in that match, and that's why he lost. So normally, you hope to see some improvement on that. You know why you lost. Now let's get out there and make those corrections, and he didn't this weekend. So it's just going to have to come down to a little bit more talking to, making him understand how aggressive he needs to be in that first period, so he's not finding himself down, especially when he's wrestling the kids that he's wrestling. Sensi's from Central Michigan, ranked 2nd in the country. The kid from Purdue, returning All-American, so he's wrestling these top guys, and you can't have slow starts against them, because they will put it on you. And that's kind of what happened this weekend. Again, we hope we can learn from it. It's obviously not the weekend we wanted for any of those guys. We wanted them to come back 4-0, but it didn't happen. So we have 2 choices now. We can either sit and dwell on it and beat ourselves up over it, or we can look at it, see what we did wrong, and make the corrections and move forward.
You look at your record, 0-6, but these 6 dual meets that you've played in, these are teams that at the bare minimum are receiving those in the top 25. These are talented teams. So how much as a coaching staff do you fall back on that, where the quality of competition that you have played has been very high?
Yeah, and we knew when we were setting the schedule this was going to be a very challenging first semester. And we're not through it yet by a long shot. We still have 5 more dual meets this semester. But we knew going in this was going to be challenging. We wanted the guys to be wrestling high-level opponents early in the year for 2 reasons. One, the guys that at the lower weights need it, because those are the guys that are going to be wrestling at the national tournament. The guys at the upper weights with a little bit less experience, that's the level that we want them competing at. So it's been a learning experience for those guys. Maybe it was a little quick for them to be up against that competition, but at the end of the day, we have a high level of expectation here in this program, and these guys need to rise to the challenge. So when we look at it, we say, hey, yeah, they're good teams. They're definitely good teams, and they're the top level guys, definitely top level individuals, and that's where we want to be. So while we look at it and say, yeah, you know what, you're wrestling good guys, but the expectation is still to win these matches, and we're far away from winning those matches. So we need to talk to our guys and say, you know, if you want to be part of this program, you want to be wrestling at this level, Division I level, this is what you need to do. And so they're good programs, but I don't think we've stepped up to the plate enough. So we can kind of sit back, yeah, they're good programs, but we need to move forward, and we need to wrestle at a higher level and get a lot better. And that's why we scheduled them now in November. We have 5 months to improve on that before the conference tournament and the national championship, so we will.
On the injury front, I know last week we talked, you thought maybe Justin Macardino could get into maybe one match at 149. We didn't see him. What's his status? Do you think he can appear this weekend? I
don't think he'll be wrestling this weekend. We had him slated to wrestle at least one match this past weekend. During practice, so we had a setback, so we'll have to reevaluate day by day, but right now it doesn't look like he's going to be wrestling this weekend. And then from there we have a weekend off before we go to the grapple, so hopefully we'll be able to get him back out on the mat against either Ohio State or Iowa, but he won't be in this weekend. But you know, we need the guys. I think Matt Spataro's been a nice surprise for us, the way he's been competing for us and wrestling hard, and so you know, we have some injuries, but it is what it is, and you keep moving forward.
Looking ahead to this weekend, 3 dual meets. First Friday, you take on Lehigh, another ranked opponent. Then Sunday, 2, you have Penn, and then Drexel, a conference meet there. So how do you improve this week in practice to get ready for those 3 meets?
We're changing up the way we're kind of doing our practice a little bit more. We're doing a lot more individualized, bringing the starters in and throughout the day, and really focused on what they're doing, and they're addressing their needs of what we've seen this past weekend. So we just need to continue working hard. Again, it's early in the season. It's no reason to push the panic button and say the season's over or anything like that. We just need to stay focused. We need to stay positive. We just need to keep getting better. We'll worry about Lehigh, which is up first Friday. They have some, you know, quality guys in there. 133, they're very good at it if Beckman's in the lineup. 157 are ranked 3rd or so in the country with Napoli. 184, they got a returning All-American. But then when you look at the rest of the lineup, they have some holes, and they got some young guys. So it should be, you know, an interesting dual meet. I feel it's one we should be able to win, even though they're ranked 14th in the country. But we need to compete, and we need to. The one thing they will do is they will wrestle at a high level, high intensity, and they'll be well coached. We need to be ready to do that if we're going to win this match. And what we need to do, if we start off at 125, we need those first 3 guys to win those matches and get the team rolling.
Quickly, though, to mention that Drexel meet, in conference, is there any additional focus or emphasis on that meet considering the conference status?
You know, I think anytime you wrestle in the conference is a little bit more of a, you know, not pressure. I don't know if pressure is the right word, but it's just you get a little more hyped up for it because you want to set the tone for the rest of the year. And you know you're probably going to see that guy or that team at least one more time at the conference meet. You might run into him, you might not. You're not 100% sure. But if you do, you want to set the tone early and let him know that there's just no way you're going to beat me. And that I'm going to just outwork you, I'm going to out-wrestle you for 7 minutes. So there is a little bit of that going into that match, but you know, I try and have the guys understand that that's what's expected every time you step on the mat, not just when it's a conference opponent, but every time. So you know, we'll talk about the importance of it as being a conference match and stuff like that, but we're not going to really drive it home and try and put too much pressure on them, like, oh my God, this is a conference match. It's another wrestle match. It is in our conference, so you want to perform well, but at the end of the day, it's 7 minutes, and you just got to go out there and compete to the best of your ability.
Finally, Coach, what's going to be your key to right the ship a little bit, get some of your wrestlers who've been struggling back on track with 3 meets this weekend?
Hard work, lots of it. You know, the one thing, the sport, there's no secret to success in this sport. It's about working hard and putting in the extra hours. It's about sacrificing some things that aren't so easy to sacrifice. And you know, just talked to the guys the other day about having an all-in commitment and being willing to sacrifice those things. They're all on board. The coaching staff's on board. So we just need to keep working.
The Hofstra Pride Wrestling team has 3 meets this weekend. First Friday against Lehigh, and then 2 Sunday afternoon against Penn and Drexel. For head coach Rob Anspach, I'm Mike Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in to the W. Mason Coaches Report.